This is the scene where I get fired. Noah Carter stared at the coffee cup sitting 6 inches from his right hand and felt his entire nervous system file for immediate resignation. Around him, the conference room on the 38th floor of Blackwood Holdings looked exactly the way he remembered it from the novel. Floor-to-ceiling windows, polished walnut table, gray morning sky over Manhattan, 12 nervous executives pretending not to be nervous, and Adrian Blackwood seated at the far end like he personally owned silence. Which, considering the man owned half the buildings Noah could see from the window, was probably not impossible. Noah swallowed. He knew this room. He knew this meeting. He knew what happened next. In Chapter 17, an insignificant junior employee named Noah Carter reached for his notes, knocked over a cup of coffee, ruined a signed contract, and got fired before lunch. 6 lines later, the character disappeared from the book forever. Minor character. Disposable employee. Corporate collateral damage. Unfortunately, Noah was currently wearing that employee's identification badge. He glanced down at it for the 10th time. Noah Carter. Strategic Operations. Blackwood Holdings. Great. Fantastic. Apparently being transported into a romance novel did not even exempt him from office work. Across the table, Adrian lifted his eyes from the quarterly report. Noah immediately looked away. That was another problem. Adrian Blackwood was supposed to be fictional. Fictional men were much easier to criticize while eating microwave noodles at midnight. In person, Adrian was 29, broad-shouldered, dark-haired, sharply dressed, and so composed that Noah suddenly understood why half the fictional internet inside this universe considered him terrifying. Adrian was also supposed to fall hopelessly in love with Emily Hayes, the novel's brilliant and stubborn female lead. Noah was not Emily Hayes. Noah was barely supposed to survive Chapter 17. The coffee cup waited beside his hand like a tiny ceramic threat. Noah slowly moved his elbow away from it. Very slowly. Nobody noticed. Good. Excellent. Step 1. Do not touch coffee. Step 2. Do not destroy contract. Step 3. Remain employed long enough to figure out how to get home. The chief financial officer continued speaking. If we approve the revised terms today, legal can finalize everything before Friday. Noah knew the next line too. Adrian would ask for the blue folder. Someone would pass it across the table. Noah would reach sideways. Coffee disaster. Career over. Adrian leaned back slightly. The blue folder. There it was. Noah's pulse jumped. A senior manager reached for the folder. Noah stared at the coffee. Do not move. Do not breathe. Do not become memorable. The folder slid across the polished table. At the same moment, the man beside Noah turned too quickly and bumped the cup. Noah moved before he thought. His hand shot out, catching the folder and pulling it clear as the coffee tipped harmlessly across an empty notepad instead. Silence. Noah froze. Wrong. That was wrong. In the novel, he had caused the accident. Nobody else. He was supposed to panic, apologize, and get dismissed immediately. Instead, the contract sat perfectly dry in his hand. Well, Noah whispered, that seems better. Nobody laughed. Tough room. He carefully placed the folder on the table and looked up. Every executive was staring at the spilled coffee. Except Adrian. Adrian was staring directly at Noah. Not annoyed. Not impressed. Curious. That was worse. Much worse. Noah knew Adrian's expressions from 42 chapters, 2 bonus episodes, and 1 painfully unnecessary holiday special. Curiosity was not supposed to happen here. Adrian's gaze dropped briefly to Noah's hand, then to the overturned cup, then back to his face. Mr. Carter. Noah's stomach sank. Yes, sir. Adrian's voice remained calm. Why did you move before the cup fell? Noah stopped breathing. Nobody in the original novel had ever asked that question. 24 hours earlier, Noah Carter had been absolutely certain his biggest problem was a romance novel with terrible decision-making. He sat alone in a 24-hour diner near his apartment, eating fries and scrolling through the newest chapter on his phone while rain streaked the windows behind him. Unbelievable, he muttered. Adrian Blackwood, fictional billionaire, fictional chief executive officer, and apparently fictional enemy of basic communication, had just misunderstood Emily Hayes for the 4th time in 6 chapters. Noah stabbed a fry into ketchup. You own 3 companies, but asking one direct question is somehow impossible. The waitress passing his booth gave him a concerned glance. Noah smiled politely and lowered his voice. This was normal. Mostly. He had spent the last 2 months reading The Contracted Heart during his commute, lunch breaks, and those dangerous late-night hours when one chapter became 12. He knew every major event. Emily joining Blackwood Holdings. Adrian pretending not to care about her. The charity gala. The rain-soaked confession. Even the ridiculous corporate misunderstanding that somehow lasted 70 pages. Noah liked the story. He simply believed everyone inside it needed professional supervision. He scrolled farther and sighed. If I were in this book, I could fix this entire plot in 1 week. The words left his mouth casually. The universe, apparently, took them personally. An hour later, Noah left the diner and headed home with his phone tucked into his coat pocket. The rain had weakened to a cold drizzle, and Manhattan traffic glowed red and gold across the wet pavement. Noah waited at the corner, thinking about tomorrow's real-world presentation and wondering whether he had remembered to buy coffee. A delivery truck turned onto the street nearby. Someone shouted. A horn sounded. Noah stepped backward instinctively. Then everything became white. No impact. No pain. Just light. Endless, impossible light. When Noah opened his eyes again, he was staring at a ceiling he had never seen before. Okay, he whispered. That is concerning. He sat up. The room was enormous. Not hotel enormous. Wealthy person who thinks square footage is a personality trait, enormous. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Manhattan from what appeared to be at least 30 stories up. A charcoal suit hung beside a bedroom door. On the nightstand sat a phone Noah did not recognize. He picked it up. Face recognition unlocked it immediately. No, Noah said. The lock. Screen displayed Monday, October 14th. That was not today. Or rather, it had not been today 5 minutes ago. He found a wallet beside the phone and opened it. His own face stared back from an identification card. Same brown hair. Same eyes. Same expression that always made government photographs look like hostage negotiations. But beneath the photograph were words that made his stomach turn cold. Noah Carter. Strategic Operations. Blackwood Holdings. No. He crossed the room and grabbed the employee badge hanging from the suit jacket. Same company. Same name. Noah slowly looked toward the skyline outside. On the neighboring tower, enormous silver letters reflected the cloudy morning light. Blackwood Holdings. His knees nearly gave out. No, no, no. He grabbed the unfamiliar phone and searched the company website. Adrian Blackwood appeared immediately. 29 years old. Chief Executive Officer. Black hair. Gray eyes. Exactly the face described in the novel Noah had been mocking less than 2 hours earlier. Noah sank onto the edge of the bed. I got transported into a romance novel, he whispered. Then a calendar notification appeared. Executive Strategy Meeting. 9 o'clock. Conference Room 38. Noah stared at it. Something about that meeting felt familiar. Too familiar. He opened the novel app. The story was there. Chapter 17. His eyes raced down the page until they stopped on one paragraph. Junior employee Noah Carter entered the meeting carrying reports. He spilled coffee across an important contract. Adrian Blackwood fired him before lunch. Noah checked the clock. 8:12. He had 48 minutes before his 6-line fictional career ended exactly the way the book had written it. Noah spent the next 30 minutes discovering that being a minor character in a romance novel came with absolutely no useful instructions. The apartment contained clothes in his size, a refrigerator full of food he did not remember buying, and an email account containing 3 years of conversations written by a version of Noah Carter who apparently loved spreadsheets and ended every message with best regards. I have been reincarnated as corporate enthusiasm, Noah whispered. This is worse than I thought. He needed rules. Something simple. Something survivable. He opened a blank note on the unfamiliar phone and typed everything he remembered about Noah Carter from the original story. First, arrive slightly late to the executive meeting. Second, accidentally cross paths with Adrian Blackwood outside the conference room. Third, sit near the coffee. Fourth, ruin the contract. Fifth, get fired. Sixth, disappear from the novel forever. Noah stared at the list. 6 events. 6 opportunities to do the opposite. Easy. He would arrive early. Avoid Adrian. Avoid coffee. Protect the contract. Keep his job. Then stay far away from every important character until he figured out how to return home. By 8:35, Noah was riding an elevator toward the 38th floor of Blackwood Holdings, wearing a charcoal suit that fit suspiciously well and holding his employee badge like evidence in a trial. The building was exactly as the novel had described it. Polished stone floors, quiet elevators, expensive art that looked like somebody had spilled paint and received a tax deduction. Noah checked the time. 25 minutes early. Good. Original Noah had been late. Plot successfully defeated. The elevator stopped at 34. The doors opened. Adrian Blackwood stood outside. Noah stared. Adrian stared back. No, this was wrong. They were supposed to meet outside the conference room at 8:58, not inside an elevator at 8:35. Noah stepped backward instinctively. Adrian entered. The doors closed. Silence filled the elevator. Noah looked straight ahead. 35. 36. Adrian said nothing. Excellent. Perhaps reality had merely rearranged the scenery. Noah could survive 30 seconds. Mr. Carter. Noah almost sighed out loud. Of course Adrian knew his name. Why would the universe allow peace? Yes, sir. Adrian stood beside him, perfectly composed in a dark suit, his attention fixed on the floor numbers. You are early. Noah blinked. In the novel, Adrian's first words to him had been you are late. Noah's skin prickled. I thought I would try something new. Adrian turned his head. Punctuality. Personal growth. A pause. Noah regretted speaking immediately. Adrian's mouth moved almost imperceptibly, as if he had considered smiling but rejected the proposal. The elevator reached 38. Noah escaped with dignity, which in practical terms meant walking quickly without visibly running. He reached the conference room, chose a seat as far from the coffee as possible, and congratulated himself on surviving event number 2. Then the seating coordinator entered. Mr. Carter, could you move down one seat? Mr. Wallace needs access to the presentation screen. Noah looked at the new seat, directly beside the coffee. He stared at it. The plot was correcting itself. Of course, he said weakly. 5 minutes later, the meeting began. Noah kept both hands folded in his lap. He did not touch the cup. He barely looked at it. When Adrian requested the blue folder, Noah already knew what was coming. The manager beside him turned. His elbow shifted. Noah moved first. The coffee spilled. The contract survived. And somehow that was worse. Because now Adrian was watching him with an expression Noah had never read on the page. Why did you move before the cup fell? Adrian asked. Every executive in the room went silent. Noah searched desperately for an explanation that did not begin with I read your life on my phone. Good reflexes? He offered. Adrian glanced at the distance between Noah's hand and the cup. You moved before he touched it. Noah smiled because panic had apparently destroyed his remaining survival instincts. Very good reflexes? Adrian did not smile. He looked thoughtful, curious. Noah knew enough about the original story to understand one thing with terrifying clarity. Adrian Blackwood was not supposed to notice Noah Carter at all. Yet now, for the first time, the most important man in the novel was looking at its least important character as if Noah had just become the only interesting thing in the room. The meeting ended 12 minutes later, but Noah remained seated for exactly 3 seconds because standing too quickly felt like an excellent way to attract more attention from the one man he desperately needed to avoid. Around him, executives gathered folders, closed laptops, and escaped into the hallway with the synchronized efficiency of people who had survived another hour near Adrian Blackwood. Noah waited. 1 second. 2. 3. Then he stood. Mr. Carter. Noah closed his eyes. Of course. He turned slowly. Adrian was still at the head of the table, one hand resting beside the rescued contract, gray eyes fixed on him with uncomfortable precision. Yes, sir. Stay. Noah's internal response contained several words unsuitable for a professional environment. His external response was, of course. The last executive left. The door clicked shut. Silence settled across the room. Noah looked at the windows, the conference table, the abandoned coffee cup, anything except Adrian. In the original novel, this room had already finished its purpose. Noah should have been unemployed by now. Adrian should have forgotten his name before lunch. Instead, the story had apparently unlocked bonus content specifically designed to ruin Noah's day. Adrian stood and walked toward him. You knew the cup would fall. I guessed. Before anyone touched it. Excellent intuition. You moved the contract first. Noah smiled weakly. I care deeply about paperwork. Adrian stopped a few feet away. Do you always answer serious questions like this? Only when I am extremely comfortable. Adrian's eyes narrowed slightly. Noah immediately regretted developing a personality. You are nervous, Adrian said. I work in corporate strategy. Nervous is basically part of the benefits package. For half a second, Adrian looked almost amused. Then the expression vanished. Have we met before? Noah's heartbeat stumbled. No, too fast. He had answered too fast. Adrian noticed. Naturally. You are certain? Very. Then why did you look at me in the elevator like you recognized me? Noah searched his brain for something believable. Unfortunately, his brain had chosen that moment to display scenes from the novel like a slideshow. Adrian standing in the rain outside Emily's apartment. Adrian arguing with his board. Adrian refusing to admit he was jealous for approximately 9 consecutive chapters. Noah knew the man's favorite coffee, childhood piano teacher, preferred hotel in Boston, and the exact chapter where he finally learned how apologies worked. You are the chief executive officer, Noah said. Most employees recognize you. That is not what I asked. Of course it was not. Adrian stepped closer to the table, not threatening, simply attentive. You looked at me as if you were waiting for me to say something. Noah felt the room become very quiet. Maybe I was. Adrian tilted his head. What? Noah should have lied. A smart person would have lied. Instead, panic loosened his mouth. You were supposed to tell me I was late. Adrian went still. Noah's soul immediately attempted to resign from his body. I mean, Noah added quickly, because I usually am. Apparently, based on workplace reputation, which I am definitely familiar with because this is my life. Excellent recovery. Flawless. Adrian studied him for a long moment. You were 25 minutes early. Personal growth. You said that already. It remains true. Adrian's gaze did not move. Noah could almost hear invisible warning music. Finally, Adrian walked back toward the table and picked up the contract. Your department submitted the forecast model for the Mercer acquisition. Noah blinked at the sudden subject change. Yes. Probably. Somewhere in this alternate Noah's email history, perhaps. I reviewed your notes. My notes. You disagreed with the recommendation. Noah remembered nothing about a Mercer acquisition. This was not in the novel. Did I? Adrian looked at him. You wrote 3 pages explaining why the assumptions were wrong. Noah nodded slowly. That does sound like me. Come to my office at 2. Noah's stomach dropped. Why? The word escaped before he could stop it. Adrian raised an eyebrow. Noah corrected himself. I mean, certainly. Why, sir? I want your actual opinion. Noah stared at him. In 42 chapters, Adrian Blackwood had never once invited minor employee Noah Carter to his office. I am sure someone more senior would be better qualified. I did not ask someone more senior. Adrian walked toward the door, then paused beside Noah. His voice lowered. Calm and unreadable. 2 o'clock, Mr. Carter. The door opened. Noah thought the conversation was over. Then Adrian glanced back. And next time you know something before it happens, try not to look so surprised when someone notices. He left. Noah stood alone in the conference room, staring after him. The original plot had lasted less than 1 morning. Now Adrian Blackwood had invited him into a scene that had never existed at all. By 1:45, Noah had developed a new strategy for surviving Adrian Blackwood. Avoid him completely. It was elegant. It was practical. It lasted 11 minutes. Noah spent lunch on the 23rd floor instead of the executive cafeteria, took the stairs rather than risk another elevator encounter, and ignored 3 separate calendar reminders for his 2 o'clock meeting while pretending his desk plant required urgent attention. At 1:58, his phone buzzed. Mr. Blackwood is waiting. Noah stared at the message. Of course he is. He arrived at Adrian's office at 2 exactly, which felt like surrender with excellent time management. The office was quieter than Noah expected, all dark wood, glass walls, and a view over Manhattan that probably cost more per month than Noah had earned in his entire previous life. Adrian stood near the windows with the Mercer forecast open on a tablet. You came. Noah blinked. You invited me. You looked like you were considering another option. Noah smiled politely. I was considering several. Adrian gestured toward the chair across from his desk. Sit. Noah sat. Adrian asked about the acquisition model. Noah answered cautiously at first, using what he could gather from the notes written by this world's version of himself. But the more Adrian questioned him, the easier it became. Noah had worked in corporate planning before all of this. Different company, different universe. Same executives using complicated language to avoid admitting a number looked bad. 10 minutes later, Noah forgot to be afraid and pointed directly at the projection. This growth assumption is unrealistic. Adrian looked at him. Why? Because whoever built it assumes customers suddenly become more loyal. After prices increase, they might. They might also start paying rent early and enjoying airline middle seats, but I would not build a forecast around it. Silence. Noah froze. There it was. Career-ending sarcasm. Again, Adrian lowered his tablet. Then, unexpectedly, he smiled. Barely. Continue. That was somehow more alarming than anger. Noah finished the explanation, stood the moment Adrian dismissed him, and escaped to his floor with renewed commitment to invisibility. At 3:15, his manager appeared beside his desk. Congratulations. Noah looked up. That word has not meant anything good since yesterday. You are joining the Mercer project. Noah stared. I am what? Mr. Blackwood requested you personally. Of course he did. By 4, Noah had been added to 6 meetings, 2 executive email threads, and a private project channel where Adrian's name appeared often enough to qualify as weather. Noah tried changing his coffee break. Adrian appeared in the hallway. Noah ate lunch early the next day. Adrian scheduled a working session at 11:30. Noah avoided the elevator. Adrian somehow passed him in the lobby anyway. The universe had stopped correcting the plot and started improvising. Then Emily Hayes arrived. Noah recognized her immediately. Bright expression, red coat, confident posture. The female lead. Finally, something familiar. According to the novel, Emily would meet Adrian during a strategy presentation, challenge one of his assumptions, and trigger the beginning of their romance. Noah nearly felt relieved. He spent the entire morning arranging reasons for them to interact. He forwarded Emily's report, suggested she present directly, even volunteered to step out of the meeting. Adrian noticed. Naturally, Mr. Carter. Noah stopped near the conference room door. Yes. Stay. Emily looked between them. Noah smiled with the calm desperation of a man trying to repair destiny before lunch. I thought Ms. Hayes might benefit from speaking with you privately. Adrian's expression turned suspicious. Why? Because you two have complementary skill sets. We met 12 minutes ago. Sometimes 12 minutes is enough. Emily looked amused. Adrian did not. After the meeting, Noah tried again. You should invite her to dinner. Adrian stared at him. Why? Noah's brain screamed. His mouth betrayed him. Because you were supposed to like her. The hallway went silent. Adrian's gray eyes sharpened. Supposed to? Noah stopped breathing. Adrian took one slow step closer, not threatening, simply focused. Mr. Carter, who exactly told you what I am supposed to feel? Noah discovered there were very few graceful ways to answer a billionaire who had just asked why you believed you knew his romantic destiny. Nobody, Noah said. Adrian's gaze remained fixed on him. Nobody told you. Correct. Yet you said I was supposed to like Ms. Hayes. Noah considered several explanations. Workplace intuition, statistical probability, astrology, temporary possession by an overly invested romance reader. None survived more than half a second. Poor choice of words, he said finally. Adrian folded his arms. You make a remarkable number of those around me. It is becoming a personal tradition. Adrian watched him for another moment, then stepped aside. Go home, Mr. Carter. Noah blinked. That is it. For tonight. Somehow, for tonight sounded substantially worse than that is it. Noah left Blackwood Holdings at 6:27, took the subway downtown, and spent the entire ride convincing himself that the plot could still be repaired. Emily existed. Adrian had met her. The major events were still recognizable. A few wrong conversations did not mean reality had completely abandoned the novel. Then Noah reached his apartment, opened the story on his phone, and stopped breathing. Chapter 17 was different. He remembered the original wording exactly. Noah Carter spills coffee. Adrian Blackwood dismisses him. The contract meeting continues. Except those lines were gone. In their place was the morning Noah had actually lived. The coffee tipping. Noah saving the folder. Adrian asking why he had moved early. Noah read the paragraph twice. Then 3 times. No, he scrolled down. The elevator conversation was there too. Personal growth. The Mercer meeting. Adrian inviting him upstairs. Even Noah's joke about airline middle seats appeared almost word for word. His stomach tightened. This was no longer a book predicting his life. It was recording it. Noah swiped backward to earlier chapters. At first they looked familiar. Emily's introduction. Adrian's company troubles. The original gala setup. Then he noticed the changes. Small at first. A sentence mentioning Adrian wondering about the employee from the elevator. Another describing him remembering Noah's argument about the Mercer forecast. Noah's name, once barely present in the entire novel, had begun appearing everywhere. "This is bad," Noah whispered. He searched for Emily's scenes. Her role was still there, but thinner somehow. A dinner Noah distinctly remembered being arranged between Emily and Adrian had vanished. In its place was a new paragraph about Adrian remaining late at the office because Noah had challenged the acquisition assumptions. Noah sat down hard on the couch. "I replaced dinner with spreadsheets." That felt offensive on several levels. The phone screen refreshed by itself. Noah froze. A new line appeared beneath the final paragraph. Adrian Blackwood had begun to suspect that Noah Carter knew things he should not know. Noah stared. Another sentence formed slowly beneath it. He had noticed the way Noah anticipated conversations, avoided certain rooms, and watched Emily Hayes with the concentration of someone waiting for a scene to begin. Noah nearly dropped the phone. Absolutely not. The text continued. Adrian did not believe in coincidence. Tomorrow, he intended to find out what Noah was hiding. Noah stood and paced across the apartment. Tomorrow. The book was writing tomorrow now. Or predicting it. Or threatening him with extremely aggressive literary scheduling. He opened the chapter index. Chapter 18 had not existed this morning. Now it was there. Untitled. Noah tapped it. One sentence filled the otherwise blank page. Adrian Blackwood asks Noah Carter a question he cannot answer. Noah stared at the words until his eyes hurt. Then his phone buzzed with a real notification. A message from Adrian. "Come to my office tomorrow morning. 8:30. We need to talk." Noah looked from the message to the novel, then back again. "Wonderful," he whispered. "The fictional billionaire has developed initiative." Another line appeared on the page. Noah Carter would spend the night wondering which was more dangerous, the fact that the story was changing, or the possibility that Adrian Blackwood had finally started changing with it. At 8:29 the next morning, Noah stood outside Adrian Blackwood's office and seriously considered whether hiding in the stairwell counted as a long-term career strategy. His phone felt heavy in his pocket. He had checked the novel 6 times since waking up. Chapter 18 still contained only one sentence. Adrian Blackwood asks Noah Carter a question he cannot answer. Comforting. Very specific. Absolutely terrible. At 8:30 exactly, the office door opened. Adrian stood inside. "You are punctual again." Noah managed a polite smile. Personal growth continues. Adrian stepped aside. Noah entered. The office looked different in morning light, less intimidating somehow, though that might have been because Noah had spent the night being threatened by literature. Adrian closed the door and walked toward his desk, but did not sit. "How many times have you watched this happen?" Noah stopped. Every prepared excuse disappeared. "What?" Adrian's expression remained calm, but his eyes did not. There was something unsettled there. Something Noah had never seen in the novel. "Yesterday you knew the cup would fall. You expected me to say something in the elevator. You tried to push Ms. Hayes toward me as though you already knew where that relationship should go." Noah forced a laugh. "That is a creative interpretation." Adrian did not laugh. "How many times, Noah?" Hearing his first name made the room feel smaller. Noah looked toward the windows. "I do not know what you think is happening." "Neither do I." Adrian's voice softened. "That is why I am asking." Noah finally looked at him. Adrian hesitated, then said, "Sometimes I know a conversation before it happens." Noah's thoughts went silent. "What?" Not the words exactly. The shape of it. Adrian walked toward the window. "A room feels familiar before I enter it. Someone says something and I know what comes next, even though I have never heard it before." Noah could hear the faint hum of the ventilation system. Nothing else. "How long?" he asked. Adrian gave a humorless smile. "Since I was a kid." Noah stared. This was not in the book. Not one chapter. Not one bonus scene. Nothing. Adrian continued. "For years I assumed everyone experienced it. Then I learned they did not." He looked out over Manhattan. "I stopped talking about it." Noah's hand tightened around his phone inside his pocket. "And now?" Adrian turned. "Now you are here." The words landed quietly. Noah swallowed. "I have always had the sense that certain choices were already made before I reached them," Adrian said. "Which school? Which company?" which people entered my life. Even conversations sometimes felt like I was arriving late to something already decided. Noah's chest tightened. He had read those decisions. Adrian taking over Blackwood Holdings. Adrian meeting Emily. Adrian attending the gala. Adrian choosing the hotel in Boston. Noah had called them plot points. Adrian had experienced them as his life. Then you walked into that elevator, Adrian continued. And for the first time in years, I had no idea what would happen next. Noah could not think of a joke. That frightened him more than anything. Adrian stepped closer, stopping several feet away. You look at me like you know things about me I have never told you. Noah looked down. Maybe I am just observant. You are terrible at lying. I have been under unusual pressure. Noah. Adrian's voice was quiet. Do you know what happens to me? There it was. The question. The one Noah could not answer. Because he did know. He knew the original ending. Adrian fell in love with Emily. The company survived its crisis. They married. The novel ended with Adrian finally claiming he had found the one person who made his life feel like his own. Except now Noah understood the irony. Maybe it had never felt like his own at all. I knew what was supposed to happen, Noah said carefully. Adrian's eyes sharpened. Supposed to. Noah exhaled. Yes. Adrian waited. And now? Noah thought about the changing pages. Emily's disappearing scenes. Adrian noticing things he never noticed before. Now I have no idea. Adrian was silent for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, he smiled. Not the controlled executive smile Noah remembered from the novel. Something smaller. Realer. Relieved. Good. Noah blinked. Good. Yes. I just told you I have no idea what happens next. Exactly. Adrian walked back toward his desk and picked up his coffee. You seem alarmed by that. I am trapped in an unpredictable reality with a billionaire who asks terrifying questions before 9 in the morning. Alarm feels appropriate. Adrian almost laughed. You still have not told me everything. Noah's stomach tightened. No, will you? Noah looked at him. For the first time, Adrian was not demanding an answer. He was asking. Noah slowly shook his head. Not yet. Adrian considered that, then nodded. All right. Noah stared. That is surprisingly reasonable. Do not sound disappointed. I had prepared for more interrogation. Adrian took a sip of coffee. I can schedule one later. Noah groaned. Adrian smiled again. Then his expression softened. Whatever you are hiding, Noah, I need you to understand something. Noah waited. Before you appeared, my life felt familiar in ways I could never explain. Adrian's gaze held his. Since you arrived, nothing does. Noah's pulse shifted. Adrian continued, quieter now. I think I prefer it this way. Noah left the office 10 minutes later with more questions than answers. In the elevator, he pulled out his phone and opened the novel. Chapter 18 had changed. The blank page was now filled with their entire conversation. But beneath it, one new sentence had appeared. Noah read it once. Then again. Adrian Blackwood had spent his entire life following a story he could not see, and Noah Carter had just become the first person capable of leading him off the page. Noah did not discover the price of going home until that evening. He had spent the entire day pretending Adrian's confession had not rearranged something important inside him, which was difficult when Adrian now seemed determined to treat uncertainty like a gift instead of a problem. At 5:40, Noah returned to his apartment, dropped his keys beside the door, and opened the novel before even taking off his coat. Chapter 19 had appeared. The first page was blank. Then words slowly formed across the screen. If Noah Carter restores the original story, the path home will reopen. Noah stared. His heartbeat slowed. Home. His real apartment. His real job. His favorite diner. The coffee shop downstairs where the barista always spelled his name wrong. Everything he had been trying to recover since arriving here. Another sentence appeared. Adrian Blackwood must return to the original romantic path. Emily Hayes must become the person he chooses. Noah sat down on the edge of the couch. Of course, he whispered. Because apparently the universe enjoys paperwork and emotional damage. He read the instructions again. Restore the plot. Restore Adrian and Emily. Leave. It should have felt like good news. Instead, Noah imagined Adrian standing by the office window that morning, quietly admitting that his life had always felt decided for him. Noah closed the app, then opened it again. The words remained. The next morning, Noah started fixing things. He invited Emily to the Mercer briefing. He changed the seating chart, so she sat beside Adrian. At lunch, he mentioned the new restaurant Adrian had taken her to in the original Chapter 21, carefully pretending it was a coincidence. You should try it, Noah told Emily. With Mr. Blackwood. Emily looked at him over her coffee. You are doing that thing again. What thing? Trying to arrange my life like you have a clipboard. I do not have a clipboard. Emotionally, you do. Noah ignored that. By afternoon, Adrian had noticed too. Naturally, Noah declined a working dinner Adrian suggested. Then another. He stopped taking the elevator to the executive floor unless required. He answered messages professionally, briefly, safely. Every small step hurt more than it should have. 3 days later, Adrian found him alone in a conference room after everyone else had left. You are avoiding me. Noah kept gathering papers. I am working. You used to argue with me about lunch. That was before I discovered professionalism. Adrian stepped closer to the table, leaving plenty of space between them. And now you keep putting Emily in every meeting I attend. Noah's hand stopped. She is talented. She is. You work well together. We do. Then what is the problem? Adrian was quiet. Noah looked up. There was no anger in his face. That made it worse. The problem, Adrian said, is that every time you try to convince me to choose her, you look like you are saying goodbye. Noah forgot how to breathe. Adrian's voice softened. Are you? Noah looked toward the dark windows. Manhattan lights stretched below them, familiar and unreal at the same time. If I could go home, Noah asked carefully, would you think I should? Adrian did not answer immediately. Is that what this is? Noah said nothing. Adrian understood anyway. His expression changed, not dramatically, just enough for Noah to see the truth land. Leaving me is how you go back. Noah closed his eyes for a second. I think restoring everything is. Including me and Emily. Yes. Silence. Noah expected questions. Maybe frustration. Adrian only nodded once. I see. That calmness hurt more than any argument could have. Noah looked at him. Adrian, do not. His voice was still gentle. Not unless you can answer one thing honestly. Noah waited. Adrian held his gaze. If leaving me is what sends you home, were you ever planning to stay? Noah opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Because 3 days ago the answer would have been simple. Home. Of course he wanted home. But now the word contained 2 different places, and one of them had Adrian Blackwood standing inside it. Adrian gave a small nod, as if Noah's silence had answered enough. Good night, Noah. He turned toward the door. For the first time since Noah entered this world, Adrian walked away without looking back. Noah understood what he wanted the next morning, which was inconvenient because understanding it did not make doing anything easier. The original charity event arrived exactly where the novel said it would, a ballroom high above Manhattan filled with glass chandeliers, polished marble, soft music, and people who seemed professionally trained to hold champagne without ever actually drinking it. This was the night Adrian and Emily were supposed to become inevitable. Noah knew the scene. He knew the lighting. He knew the conversation near the windows. He knew Adrian was supposed to realize that Emily understood him better than anyone else. Noah stood near the edge of the room and watched Emily laugh at something Adrian said. It looked right. That was the problem. It looked exactly right, like a page being placed back into its proper binding. Noah checked his phone. The novel app was open. New text had appeared. The original path is almost restored. One final choice remains. Noah stared at the words until Emily's voice interrupted him. You are doing it again. Noah looked up. She had crossed the ballroom without him noticing. Doing what? Watching us like we are a science experiment. That seems unfair. You rearranged 3 meetings, recommended a restaurant, and somehow convinced the event planner to seat me beside him. Noah winced. When you list it like that, it sounds controlling. It is controlling. Fair. Emily folded her arms. Why? Noah looked toward Adrian. He was speaking with 2 board members, composed as ever, but his attention drifted toward Noah for half a second before he deliberately looked away. That hurt more than Noah expected. Because this is how it is supposed to happen, Noah said quietly. Emily studied him. You keep saying that. Noah said nothing. Her expression softened. You talk about him like he belongs to a story. Noah's breath caught. Emily continued. Have you ever asked what he wants? The question landed harder than any magical message on Noah's phone. He thought of Adrian describing a life that always felt decided before he reached it. He thought of every time Noah had called something a plot point without considering what it felt like from inside the page. Then Noah looked at the novel again. One final choice remains. I have been trying to save the story, he whispered. Emily followed his gaze, though she could not see what the screen meant. Maybe the story does not need saving. Noah looked at her. Emily smiled gently. Maybe. The people do. That was enough. Noah crossed the ballroom before he could reconsider. Adrian noticed him approaching and excused himself from the board members. His expression remained guarded. Noah, I need to tell you something. Adrian glanced around the crowded room. Now. Especially now. Adrian waited. Noah took a breath. I kept trying to put everything back the way it was supposed to be. Adrian's eyes lowered slightly. I noticed. Because I thought fixing the story would fix my problem. Getting home. Yes. Noah swallowed. But I never asked whether the story deserved to be fixed. Adrian went still. Noah continued before fear could stop him. I knew what you were supposed to choose. Who you were supposed to choose. I treated that like it mattered more than what you actually wanted. Adrian's voice was quiet. And now? Noah looked directly at him. Now I want to know what happens if we choose for ourselves. For several seconds, Adrian said nothing. Then something in his expression softened. You understand that means I might make terrible choices. Noah almost laughed. I read 42 chapters of your original decision-making. I am prepared. Adrian smiled. A real smile. Warm enough that Noah forgot about the ballroom for a moment. His phone buzzed. Noah looked down. The novel app had opened by itself. Every word disappeared from the screen. Chapter titles vanished. Paragraphs dissolved. The entire book became blank page after blank page. Noah stared. It is gone. Adrian stepped closer, leaving only a comfortable distance between them. The story. Noah nodded. Everything. Adrian looked at the white screen, then back at Noah. Good. Noah blinked. Good. Adrian's smile returned. I was getting tired of spoilers. Noah laughed, and the sound surprised him with how relieved it felt. You do realize I still do not know if I can ever go home. Adrian's expression became serious again. I know. And I do not know what happens tomorrow. Neither do I. Noah looked at the blank page. Yesterday, that uncertainty had terrified him. Now it felt almost peaceful. Adrian held out one hand, not demanding, simply offering. Noah looked at it for a second, then placed his own hand in Adrian's. Warm, steady, real. Around them, the ballroom continued exactly as before, but the story had finally stopped telling either of them what came next.